As if this election campaign weren't disturbing enough already, now come a slew of women from Donald Trump's past revealing that he allegedly sexually assaulted them in bygone days. Perhaps inevitably, Trump himself is dismissing all of these allegations, and he and his supporters are trying to throw cold water on them by pointing out the convenient timing of these most recent revelations. Specifically, not to put too fine a point on it, why now? That's the response coming from the Trump camp, the die-hard Trump supporters, the kinds of people who would vote for him even if he shot someone dead on Fifth Avenue in New York City. They're all saying, why now? Why only come out with these allegations now? These accusers are simply in the tank for Hillary Clinton, just trying to kneecap Donald Trump's campaign at the worst possible time for him. Well, my answer to that is, even if that's true, and I'm not saying it is because I don't know that it is, but even if it were true, that his accusers simply sat on these revelations until this juncture to time those revelations for the most detrimental possible impact on Trump's campaign, I say more power to them. I salute them. I honestly do. I think that the threat that Donald Trump represents is more than serious enough to warrant that kind of political strategy on the part of his accusers. Now, let me make it clear. I suspect that these women really only waited until now simply because of the difficulties, to put it mildly, that sexual assault survivors face when it comes to reporting these horrific crimes that have been committed against them, especially when the perpetrators are wealthy, famous, powerful men like Donald Trump. I don't know that these women are playing this political game, simply sitting on this information until October of this year so that they could give Trump a nasty little October surprise at the right time to prevent him from winning the election. But even if they are, listen, I would do the same thing if I were in their position. If I had been sexually assaulted in the past by a bombastic billionaire buffoon, but I had kept quiet about it because I was sure that no one would take me seriously, and then I saw that bombastic billionaire buffoon run for president and come within a whisker of winning the presidency, I would say, you know what? Let me come forward with this information now. But I would also say, let me time it just right, just so, to make sure that it can't be ignored and to make sure that the news doesn't simply blow over in time for Trump, in this case, to allow his campaign to bounce back from it. I want to make sure that this information is fresh in the voters' minds when they go to the ballot box on election day. And in order to make sure that happens, it has to be an October surprise. It has to be revealed less than a month before the election. Not too close to election day, because then voters might not have enough time to process it in their minds, but not too far in advance either, because that way voters might simply forget about it in all too many cases. Now, I'm sure a lot of folks will respond to that by saying, that's so crass, so tawdry to play politics with an issue like sexual assault. I disagree. Think about it. Sexual assault is very much a pressing public policy issue. One thing that I think all right-thinking people should be able to agree on is that someone with Donald Trump's alleged history of sexual assault cannot be trusted to guide and craft the right public policy when it comes to sexual assault. Just a couple of weeks ago, or so I understand, Congress actually passed a bill that would get the federal government involved in nudging local police departments in the right direction when it comes to the way that they deal with rape and sexual assault cases, the way that they store evidence from rape kits and things of that nature. Imagine that Donald Trump had been the president when a bill like that arrives on the president's desk in the Oval Office. You really want a man who has allegedly groped all of these women and allegedly even committed some acts of outright rape according to past allegations, past lawsuits and the like? Would you really want someone with that track record sitting in the Oval Office deciding whether to sign such legislation into law or veto it? Would you want that kind of man heading up an administration that's going to determine how Title IX is applied when it comes to sexual assault accusations on university campuses? Would you want a man like that deciding how any aspect of public policy when it comes to sexual assault and rape is determined anywhere in the good old US of A? I think not. I certainly hope not. So, if I were a sexual assault survivor, and I'm not, thank God, but I am acquainted with several of them, at least several of them. If I were a sexual assault survivor, I would probably sit on this revelation as well. If I hadn't already come out with it in the past, I would probably time my exposure of it, my sharing of what had been done to me by this man, until less than a month, maybe 3 to 4 weeks or so before Election Day, so that it has the maximum possible effect on his campaign. That would be a totally reasonable and morally legitimate thing to do, quite frankly. And any Trump supporters out there who are butthurt over it, too bad. When you consider all the slimy, scummy, sleazy things that your candidate has said and allegedly done in the past, I don't think you're in any position to complain. So what if these women are in the tank for Hillary Clinton? It's your candidate's fault, at least in part, for giving them so many reasons, good reasons, to be in the tank for his opponent, if only to keep him out of the Oval Office. So even if Trump is right, even if his defenders and supporters are right, even if these women really are just playing politics with their tales of sexual assault, their experiences with sexual assault, in order to kneecap Trump's election, I say more power to them. And here's hoping it works.